zombies, parkour, and Whitehair gets trapped in a bus. Strap on your UV flashlight and hang on to your pipe wrench. This is Dying Light on VaultCast.
Cool.
Yo.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's pretty good.
It's a really good game. Or your intro.
My intro.
Oh.
Yeah, the game was shit.
Yeah,
The game was good.
I think I just jumped at the end of that shit. Alright. Oh, was that for the audio thing? That was for the audio part? Alright.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can cut all this middle shit out if you want, or you can just leave it in because this is VaultCast episode 1.
No, I'm gonna clap and then we can start there.
Oh, okay.
What?
Clap and start the show.
We're going to.
Hello and welcome to episode 1 of VaultCast. I am Matt Hillman and I will be your host. And with me, I have Alex Whitehair,
Hey, what's going on?
Nick Cooper,
Hey, how's it going?
and Chris Puner.
Hello.
And we are going to take you on this epic journey through the game that we played throughout these past 2 weeks called Dying Light.
Yo.
Dying Light is a horror survival game based in a fictional city called Haran. You play as Kyle Crane, a GRE operative sent into the city to infiltrate the quarantine and retrieve a file from a man named Suleiman. Throughout the game, you learn the true motives of the GRE and that their intentions aren't always what they seem. A mixture of parkour and first-person shooter elements provide a unique experience while fighting off the zombies.
Let's just clear up before we talk about this. Whenever we say the GRE, we're talking about the Global Relief Effort.
Yeah.
Correct,
Yeah.
indeed.
That's what it stands for.
And it's kind of like what we would think of as maybe the UN or some sort of thing like that.
Like kind of like a top-level humanitarian group
FEMA.
that
Yeah,
helps.
exactly.
Yeah, that works. FEMA works.
That works too.
Right.
But yeah, that's basically the breakdown of what this game is. We'll go more into the story as we get along, but I want to hear first impressions on the game. Let's talk first about the first hour or so of gameplay. What do you feel when you first get into the game? What's your first impression? Whitehair.
I was kind of really taken aback by... There was a lot at once. The free running is definitely something to get used to. The only game that I've played that's similar was Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah.
And this was much more engaging and challenging than Assassin's Creed. It wasn't just hold on a button and forward and your character does all the work.
Right.
So it was a lot of just like tumbling and doing things that I didn't mean to do and bumping into stuff. But I'd say it hooked me though. Just like the whole experience.
I was gonna say that too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. You sounded pretty up in arms about that one, Chris.
I have a counter argument. I mean, it's less. I'm not sure which Assassin's Creed you played, but some of the later ones are a little bit more guilty of making an easier version of the parkour as opposed to the other ones. Like in one, it was very much like you had to get used to the bugs.
Yeah.
If you know which walls you're either going to run up by accident or not, or run through a bunch of guards and fall over and they'll kill you. Dying Light was a little bit more dynamic than that, and they really like eased through a lot of the bugs and stuff like that. The parkour was very deliberate for me, and you're right in that in saying that it took a little bit of time to get used to. But by the end of the game, and I know the two of you, Nick and Whitehair, you two put in so many more hours than Matt Hillman and I either did.
I think I put in about 40.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I put in like 13,
I think
you put in like
37.
12, right? Something
Yeah.
like that?
I put in like 11 or 12, yeah.
Right.
So.
But the other thing that you were talking about was... Oh, so the first hour...
First impression.
I'll just go into my...
First hour or so of the game.
All right, so I tried streaming this game like right away, and so I was messing with some settings during the first part, so I didn't quite get as much context right away. I knew I was dropped in. I was being talked to some woman over the radio, talking about the GRE and stuff like that. But then after a while, I kind of like lost track of what was going on, and I didn't feel quite connected to those characters for those first hour that you meet and you're talking to people that are in a place called the Tower, which is one of the settlements of survivors within this quarantine. I kind of the lack of context didn't really set me emotionally apart from the journey that other people that had gotten that context were going. I found that out later, but I muscled through that, and the first few hours were pretty good. Okay. I mean, the zombies are genuinely scary.
Yes.
The very beginning of the game, you feel helpless more than one at a time, and you start to like freak out a little bit, even just one, because they get up right in your face. The first person element in this game is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You feel like you're actually hand-to-hand combating, in hand-to-hand combat with these zombies.
Yeah, and I think one of the most interesting parts of the beginning of this game is that you start with nothing. And so you end up like picking up a pipe and beating zombies over the head with a pipe. And then as you progress in the game, you get better weapons or whatever. But it's that first aspect of like, I don't have anything. I'm helpless.
Right.
And I'm sitting here with a pipe, and I have to hit these zombies in the head 15 times before they go down, you know?
I'm literally picking, like, floorboards up off the floor to, like, smack zombies with them until they snap and I can't use them anymore.
Right.
Just dropping them and finding, like, other ones or pipes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I found myself getting kind of frustrated because I felt like I was running through weapons like water at the beginning.
Yeah.
Probably because I was fighting too much.
Well, I didn't use the same weapon until at least halfway through the slums. Every time I broke a weapon, I would just throw it away.
Yeah, that's how I
Okay.
just
Switch to another one.
Okay.
So what was your first impression of the game?
I don't. I kind of felt like it was a little slow.
Okay.
Story wise, you kind of jump into, the game pretty quickly. You're into some action, but after that first initial action, it's kind of just, the tutorial basically.
Right. Yeah.
And
Right.
I don't know. I just felt like the tutorial was, slow.
Yeah,
In a
I can
lot
see
of
that.
ways, though, the entire game is sort of a big tutorial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as our opinions, we kind of prefaced this with the slight conversation we had throughout the week. Whiter and I, since we worked together, we talked about this quite a bit. Our impression of the game changes over time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
So we'll talk about that as we move on. I don't want to,
Yeah, definitely.
be stealing by thunder, but
Yeah, we'll do that. So right now we're just going to take a little bit of time to talk about our favorite moments from the game and our least favorite part of the game. And so I'm going to go first with my least favorite part right off the bat.
Okay.
I really dislike a lot of the combat in this game, particularly against humans. I found that when you're fighting humans with melee weapons, it is extremely difficult to even hit them. But on top of that, it feels like they're just tanky as hell. And they just don't take any damage.
I feel
And
like
so-
part of the issue is the lack of a block feature.
Yes, there is no block feature for you. But for them, they can
I-
duck and block with their weapons
Yeah.
and all this other crap. And I
Found
just
out
felt...
if you time your attack correctly, you can parry.
I would assume.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I
You
didn't
can
really.
parry. It's,
Oh, wow.
it's difficult.
I usually just pulled out a gun for humans, to be completely honest. Or
That's-
like
and we
not
haven't
to
even
jump
gotten
on
the guns
them.
yet.
That's,
yes.
yeah, you shouldn't try to parry. You should just shoot them.
Okay, but there's definitely parts at the beginning of this game when you're fighting
First
humans,
life lesson.
and it's very disheartening because you're fighting these humans and you just keep dying. Especially because I remember one particular instance near the beginning of the game. You have to go to this drugstore area, basically,
Yeah.
and you land in there and you talk to the guy. And he's got this like bad antizin, which is basically like the cure for the zombie disease.
It's like
The
a suppressant.
Yeah,
it's not a
suppressant.
cure.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not the
it's
cure.
probably notable to mention that your main character, when he drops in, gets bitten and infected like right away.
So
Yep.
he needs the
It's like the
suppressant
first-
So,
immediately.
and if you are starting to turn, you experience these seizures. Seizures kind of
Yeah.
it's a little strange in the
Yeah.
game the way they do
It's
it. But,
fuzzy.
but
is
then,
basically what it
yeah,
was,
this suppressant you get is called antizin, and everybody wants it. It's like basically the most valuable thing there
Yeah.
in the quarantine.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and the thing was, like, you get to this drugstore and you talk to the guy, and he's, like, really upset because he's selling this bad antizin and he's making a living from it. And he basically turns on you, and all of his people around turn on you, and you're basically in the middle of 5 or 6 humans, and you got a pipe wrench, and they're all running at you with, like, pickaxes and stuff. And it was just...
Did you have a hard time with that?
I had a really hard time with that encounter. I
Oh,
ended
I
up...
did the first
time.
one of the good things about the game, though, is that if you kill something...
Yeah.
So in this instance, it was a pack of humans. If you kill 1 or 2 of them, then when you die and respawn, they're still dead.
Yeah. That,
So it makes
that
it
was
easier.
helpful.
It does make it a
That
little
was
bit
very
easier.
helpful. But you lose points that help you progress to
Like
get
experience.
better
Yeah,
things.
Yeah, it's
Experience.
basically experience.
What are the 3 trees? Survivor, agility, and power, right?
power, yeah.
Right, and so there's also a skill tree sort of development process in this game. And the points that you lose when you die are survivor points, but you stop losing them when you hit like 0 at your current level. But survivor points are generally for skills to help you survive, right? So like
They increase your maximum health.
stuff
and things like that.
Yeah, things like that. The ability to set off certain types of traps that
You
are
find
literally in
more
all the places. Find more loot.
They give you drop kick.
Boosts. Yeah,
Right?
Isn't
stuff
that
like
in-
that.
Or is that agility?
That might be
think it's
in,
agility.
Actually, I have no
remember.
idea. That was the first thing I got when I
That's
had
one
the
of the best
opportunity.
Oh wait, no, it might actually be in power.
I think it might be in Power.
Now I have no idea where it is.
And it's really unimportant.
But wait till you get drop kicked.
Right. But yeah, we'll talk about that. All right. So is that your?
Yeah, that was my least favorite thing about the game. A lot of the combat kind of turned me around.
Okay.
Once you get a gun, it's a lot better because it feels more like a first-person shooter when you're fighting humans.
I didn't like guns.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't like guns.
I watched Nick play a little bit, and he had a badass like lightning sword, and I was like, man, I want that shit.
You can get one.
One-shotting people.
You gotta
I mean,
loot
one-shotting the beginner zombies who have, next
yeah,
to-
right.
So
yeah.
All right. What about you?
Favorite or least favorite?
Either one. Just go.
Okay. I think my favorite moment in the entire game was probably there's these things called quarantine zones, and each one kind of has its own story behind it that gets explained as you're loading in. And one of them was this apartment complex where I think they just after the first initial outbreak, there was a lot of infected in there really early on before it starts spreading throughout the whole city. So they sealed it off, and everybody was stuck in there. So you go in there, and the first floor is pretty much completely silent except for there's piano playing and there's a kid crying you hear.
Wow.
And so you're just walking and just the atmosphere, just creaking floorboards, piano, and a child crying. And eventually you go upstairs and there's some common infected and they're not too big of a deal and you're just fighting them off and it's not so much. But the crying, the piano just keeps getting louder and louder as you're progressing up the stairs. Mm-hmm. And it eventually culminates with you finding the room where that's coming from and having to deal with that. But it's
no spoilers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It was really cool. It just the whole atmosphere of that place was incredible. It just had me on the edge of my seat.
So that was your favorite or least favorite?
That was probably my favorite experience in the entire game. I loved that whole quarantine zone.
That was really well done.
I think we all did that one together.
Yeah, the three of us.
That was pretty great. You can also do multiplayer in this game.
Yeah, and we'll get to that too.
I really. Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
But
we can move on to Nick's favorite.
Yeah, what was your favorite?
Can I mention Fan Zone?
Yeah.
Without. I won't give the big.
Oh,
the big
you know what?
You'll be spoiling it for me because I haven't done it yet.
I haven't done it either. But
then don't spoil it. It's gotta.
Okay, yeah, I won't spoil it, but
you can just talk to the effect of how good the side quests are. Probably.
Okay, yeah. I felt really connected to a lot of the side quests.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It kind of felt like, we need. It ranged from we need coffee, because I think the flavor text of the quest was, those coffee drinkers, they're almost worse than the infected whenever they don't get their fix.
I think you're right about that.
I don't know, the whole atmosphere of the game was just really immersing.
Yeah.
So the side quest didn't feel like side quests. It kind of felt like, just things your character would do in this situation.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
I'm gonna go with my favorite. And I'm tempted to say the drop kick because if any of you guys watch any of my streams, that was the big highlight. I got it real early, and I used it until real late in that game. The final sequences of that game, I was still using drop kick as my main damage dealer.
That's crazy.
But in all reality, besides just being silly and saying drop kick, a lot of the Whitehair and I had a conversation about this kind of at length, and he was sharing some experiences that he had with me, and this goes along with Nick's as well about the immersion level of this game.
Yeah.
The set pieces they put around this game, just the physical surroundings and the way that they do it, they reused a couple of rooftop models here or there, but really, the streets almost feel handcrafted, 100%.
Yeah.
There are certain stories that are told just by blood splatters next to a baby carriage, or you can tell when people were trying to leave where a collision happened. You can follow car wreckage around and see where it started and where the pileup ends and where people had abandoned their cars and they didn't crash and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where there were buses are going off of ramps and stuff. Nothing feels placed in a way that you're supposed to be able to jump off of it and stuff. We used to maybe a couple of ramps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But other than that, you legitimately feel like you are blazing trails in this game.
Yeah.
And it is phenomenal. It's really, really good.
They actually even kind of mention those ramps, and because there are really strategic laid out paths that you can take, that those were built by the survivors during the day to help other people who go out at as runners because it's really helpful to have these quick ways to get to the rooftops and stuff. So they build like these ramps and these set paths to traverse the city quickly and safely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even in that way, that's even if it's just a way of them saying, yeah, so this makes it legitimate for these ramps to be here.
Right.
It felt like a good reason.
And they weren't just ramps. I mean, we're talking like metal doors up on a pylon of some sort so that you can run up it. Like it's
literally burning wreckage that you use as
Basically.
stairs to get on top of a 2-story building.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool.
So, before we move on, you mentioned the atmosphere, and I think one of the coolest things they did is occasionally you'll hear like the sound of trash being knocked over or something like that. I love that so much.
The one that always got me was the pounding on a wall and then screaming, and it sounds like a zombie is like bursting through a wall.
Yeah.
And then screaming really loudly. They just got like loose and were running down the street, and I would always look every single time I look around. Like, oh fuck, like I couldn't even handle it.
Yeah, and I think that plays a lot to a lot of the ways that the gameplay works, because if you make sounds in the game, the AI reacts to that.
Right.
Because they mention, like, if you make a loud noise...
Like a gunshot.
Like a gunshot.
Right.
The zombies are going to react to that. And so, if you start using your weapons all the time, your, ammunition, that will start to hinder you at some point.
I also found out when I was throwing around, because you can, like, make things like homemade grenades and stuff.
Yeah, I had a couple grenades.
Shrapnel grenades. So I found out as I was using them in certain places, like, is this a safe place for me to use these? Is it not? The world around you will make sounds to react to you making loud noises, but it won't always send infected to react.
Yeah,
right.
So it kind of keeps you on your toes. Sometimes you're okay. Other times you're just boned.
Yeah,
like, you are cornered by like 8 of these fast running guys and like tons of biters behind them, and you're just done for.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's great.
Did you want to talk about your least favorite parts too? Did you have any of those?
Yeah, my least favorite parts were, and this is gonna kind of go counter to you guys. I liked all the side quests that I did, but I didn't like how I was like they put them there, and I felt like I was missing out on a lot because they put a lot of emphasis on moving forward in the story. Like, it's important. They're like, yeah, within the next 24 hours, the city's going to be bombed and you need to do this thing. And then in game time, I know you guys were talking about, like, yeah, the amount of times we went through day and night cycles, it's been like 2 weeks and nothing's happened. Yeah. Like, I felt pressured. I'm like, I got to get there before night, otherwise I'm not going to be able to get through the next section and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I wish that stuff like that actually mattered. But in another way, like, it's kind of a two-edged sword, right? I wish it mattered for the sake of me putting the effort forth for it to have mattered. But on the other hand, it would be really, really frustrating if there was a constant clock going at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I understand the design choice. I get it.
Yeah.
But and that's my least favorite part, and it's really not a heartburn, which probably just speaks to how much I really enjoyed this game.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think that part of that is because you have all these side missions. And honestly, when I was playing through them, I did a lot of the early side missions and realized that wasn't going to be what I enjoyed in this game.
Right.
And so I stopped doing those. And I focused on the main story. And for me, that actually improved it a lot. I liked the game a lot more when I just started streamlining it, because I felt like all of these side missions were very similar. You know, it was go get something or go talk to somebody or go collect these things.
Right.
And for me, it was very similar to like farming, you know, in an MMO or something like that.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel the need to do it.
The only thing I have to say to that is you're right. And that the objectives that they give you were similar to like quests in World of Warcraft or something like that.
Yeah.
Go collect X amount of this or go kill this thing. But the environment that they place every single mission in ensured that all of them were unique.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't want to compare it to World of Warcraft because it's definitely not that level of farming. Like, you're not just doing the same thing every time. But for me, it was just, you know, I didn't really want to do any of those side missions. I didn't feel really compelled to do that. Right. You know, I wanted to help those people, but I really just wanted to finish the story. You know, the main story is really good.
Unfortunately, the best part, the best mission in the game is a side mission.
Yeah.
And a lot of the missions are very similar, where it's, you know, we just need you to go pick up some things for us or talk to this person.
Oh, the bridge one was was a fetch quest.
Yeah.
Was all it was, but it was on the most incredible set piece in that game.
You climb basically the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
it's
like by hand, and there's a bunch of shit along the way. Like, it's
and to make it better though. You know, one of the stipulations on the quest is you have to complete it at night.
Oh, really?
You're going to fetch like these light bulbs, and you only need to grab the ones that are on, but you can't tell which ones are which ones haven't burned out. But you don't know which ones haven't burned out if they're not on it, and they only turn on at night.
Or malfunctioning.
Oh,
Yeah. So you have to go at night to fetch these things, and
we tried to pull a couple of them out during the day, and we end up like getting shocked and stuff. Like while you're like 10 stories, 15 stories in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was go get these light bulbs because it'll make us safer at night.
Yeah,
go out at night and put yourself at risk to save us at night.
I feel like that's
what a lot of the game was.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it was your character being like, "All right, no one else is gonna do it. I'll do it."
I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so now we're gonna get into the meat of the show, and what we really want to do for this show, because I haven't really explained it, so I'll explain it a little bit. We kind of want to break down this game into parts, critically analyze what we're going to do. Or how the game plays out,
right?
And then kind of give it not a rating, but we're going to say whether or not we liked this game, whether or not you should play this game, and kind of give our opinion based on a bunch of different factors. So, so we'll start with the first one, which we've already kind of touched on, and I want to get more in depth with environment/atmosphere. Mostly, we want to talk about the visuals of the game. The audio of the game, and then the overall feeling of the game. And I know we're going to spend a lot of time on audio, but let's start with video. How does the game look, the visuals of the game? What do you guys think is the best part of the visual environment that you get to see?
I actually want to hear Nick's input first.
Okay.
I love how the game looks.
Yeah?
It's gorgeous.
I think we might be in agreement on this.
I wish I could play it at ultra settings, but the fact that... So one of the things the game does is it loads the entire map, the entire world,
right. Which is a good and bad thing,
onto your game. It's good. There are no loading screens unless you go inside of a main building or outside of a main building, which is fantastic.
And loading's not overly long either.
Yeah, it's maybe 10 seconds.
It's pretty okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So never once are you like, oh, I just got taken out of the game, taken out of this atmosphere.
Yeah, the immersion's never broken.
It's just... I think one of the coolest things was just looking around and kind of like seeing how dark the game was. At one point, Whitehair and I were on top of a building waiting for Chris to do something, and we saw, a skyscraper burning, and then the sun was shining through the skyscraper, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
In a dark sort of
kind of mildly fucked up way.
Ominous way.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. I think one of the best parts is when you're doing the tutorial. The first thing you have to do is climb across this crane on the top of the building. And so basically, you walk on top of this crane and you start looking around, and you're like, this is a real city. It looks like a real city, but it's just been destroyed because of this carnage that's happened.
Right.
And just the like you said, the smoke in the far distance of burning buildings is just like crazy.
Yeah.
The amount of detail that goes into it. You guys have anything to say?
I mean, I definitely agree, and I was a huge fan of... Chris really did a good job explaining how the environment tells a story throughout the whole game.
Yeah,
like things like, even when you're doing a quest for, like, to find a kid who's, like, holed up in this house, you find that, like, he got bored and just started drawing on the walls. And he's drawing, like, these events that, like, depict, like, what he's been going through, and, like, where he recently had gotten chased out of... Or his mom had gotten, like, chased out of town and stuff. And, like, all of these things are there, like, in his drawings. And there's stuff like that just... all throughout the game.
Yeah.
But
it makes the reused rooftop once or twice forgivable. They put so much attention into these small details.
Yeah.
The one thing though that really frustrated me, and then I feel like it used to be a constraint, on old video games with like consoles and stuff, but as we're moving into higher end stuff, I think we can really afford to have more than 6 different like base zombie types. I mean, granted, it was probably higher. It was probably like 15 or 20, but like. When I see 2 exactly identical zombies shambling towards me, it's kind of just like they have the exact same face, clothes, everything. It's like, come on. Like, can we randomize their outfits? Like, something? Like...
I feel like... So, my thing was going to be that I really liked about the video, the atmosphere, the visuals of it, were the zombies. Granted, some of the models were reused once in a while, and I was there for when you were on your stream, and 2, happened to be in the alleyway. They both came at the same exact thing.
Yeah.
But one of the things this game does really well, and this is why I like using melee weapons the most, is you like cut off their limbs and stuff, like in a very, very dynamic way.
It's really visceral too.
Right.
Like, yeah.
But it doesn't feel weird. It doesn't feel gory because they did such a good job of dehumanizing these zombies, with the exception of a couple of them. So here's what we found out. Right. Here's what we found out. There are different types of zombies in this game, and this is as good a place as any during this episode to really explain what the other ones what they are. Right.
Yep. Go for it.
The basic type is called a biter. And it's basically like you're a generic zombie. Shambling, slow. They see you, they get all excited, put their arms like, go, and come at you, right? And they try to bite you. And if you get caught, you can like fight them off and punch them in the face and stuff like that. It's really cool. Then there's another one. What's the running one called specifically? Is that
virals?
Virals or recently infected.
Right. So they're really loud. They scream. These are the ones that come literally running, so the ability to parkour after you and stuff like that.
These are the scary ones.
They're, they're among the scary ones.
These are okay. This is your first encounter with scary ones.
I literally almost like shat myself. The first time because I was trying to get. I was maybe 30 feet away from the tower, and I hear and it just comes and claws me in the face. I'm like, oh my god! And when the pipe bursts. Anyway, so with these ones specifically, the interesting thing is. These are the recently infected ones, and Wyatt was telling me a little bit about it because you had a conversation with your little brother, right? Do you wanna,
so you can kind of pick up through like finding various things, and people kind of mention it in the game, that these really, really fast zombies that have the ability to still chase you, and they have the ability to climb, they're the ones that are sprinting around, they're not like mindless. These are the people who are recently bitten, and are like have just recently turned, and so like they haven't like decayed and like become like this like husk of a person, like they still like, you know, retain a little bit of their humanity, which is why, like, probably one of the most disturbing parts of this game is when you're fighting these people off, like, when you usually land, like, that first good hit on them, like, in the head with the pipe or something, they'll, like, stagger backwards and put their hands up to protect themselves and say, like, please stop, and then, like, immediately, like, kind of, like, go back into this hostile mode and come at you and start, like...
Hillman, I'm not sure if you experienced that.
I did not experience that. I fought plenty of these guys.
It happens rarely, but it happens rarely in such a way that I didn't experience it until I had killed, like, probably hundreds of these guys. No, maybe not hundreds, like 50s of these guys, right? And, like... And so, like, just... It happened to me the first time, and I paused my game, and then I went and, like, got in contact with the writer, I'm like... Have you had this happen? Like, did I just mess something up? Like, it really makes you stop and think because of the way that it happens. Like, I cut one's arm off, and then it held up the other arm and went, no, stop, please, help me. And then, like normally. Like a cowering human. And then just, like stops, breathes, stands up, and then loses control and comes at you again. Yeah. Like, it is an experience in these dynamic encounters in and of itself. So, testament to the atmosphere of this game. Holy crap.
Yeah. That's pretty great.
I don't want to explain all of these in detail because they're kind of a spoiler for some of the ones later on.
Yeah.
Let's just say there's a couple of really freaky ones that fill some of the stereotypes or archetypes that you might expect. Like ones that explode,
spitters,
some that spit. We have more bulky ones. We have ones that charge and move around that are even more bulky.
Ones that kind of summon other ones.
Yeah, and then at night, it's a whole other game.
I feel like we should talk about the night ones just because they're introduced early and that's a big part of the game.
The volatiles?
Yeah. So at night, there's these ones that are called volatiles, and, you know, you never really get a good explanation. It's not quite like the recently infected where you kind of know exactly what these things are. They are really, like, dysmorphic humans. They don't look like any human you'd ever see. Like, they're kind of, like, fleshy and flayed. Their ribs are open.
Their jaws are
separate. Like tripart.
Yeah. And these guys only come out at night. And you find out pretty quickly when you're running from them and when people are warning you about them that they don't come out during the day because the light burns them. So think kind of like... I Am Legend, like the infected in that.
A little bit like that.
And so that actually leads to, like, all of the, you can hide out in these safe houses at night, and what makes these things safe houses, because oftentimes they're nothing more than just a house, is that they have UV lights all over them that make it so that these creatures can't enter it. So there's, at night, these really, like, terrifying, super fast things that only come out at night, and, you know, that's when they take over the city.
Right. Yeah.
You have to kind of use caution.
And they patrol.
Yeah, they
You have to
patrol it.
avoid
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
They patrol, and they show up on the mini-map, which is different from the other zombies. Typical zombies won't show up on the mini-map at all.
Right.
So,
because they're that dangerous.
yeah, because they're not that dangerous, but these guys at night are.
Right.
And I think the scariest thing about the night is that when one of these guys find you,
They scream.
they scream and they yell and they run at you, and then it attracts all of the other ones around it.
Yeah.
And you get into this, like, basically snowball effect, where I remember my first night, I got back to the tower, walked into the tower, turned around, and saw 6 of them right there, stopped at the tower, not walking in, because the UV light. And so, that was crazy. I ended up making it back, and I was like, holy shit. I can't believe this.
That game's insane.
I think that's one of the things the game does really well early is instill the fear of nighttime.
Yep.
Dark.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's you don't go outside at night.
Yeah.
Or you will die.
I played this game by
Early.
myself the entire time.
Yeah,
and
early.
So,
I mean,
never at night.
Yeah. You
At
get,
the beginning of that game, when all you have is your pipe wrench and stuff, and you don't have any survival skills.
Well, like, even early on, some
Yeah.
of the side quests are like, hey, listen, we need you to do this, but, fair warning, it's gonna be at night. Like, I remember getting that and, like, having to work myself up to doing that quest. Like,
Right.
alright, I'm gonna do this, like, and I had to, like, venture outside the tower, like, walk around a bit, and then, like, get scared and come back and be like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait. Maybe
I'll wait
another
tomorrow.
night.
I'll do it later. I'll do it later.
I'll do a couple of side quests, get a better wrench. I'll come back. I'll come back.
For real.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some of the audio effects of this game.
boy.
I'm excited to hear what everybody else has to say about
Okay.
this.
Well, I want to hear what Alex
Okay,
has to say.
so I loved. I mean, music comes to mind for the audio, but I kind of do want to talk about just the sound effects of combat, like the effect of like smacking somebody with a wrench and stuff.
Yeah.
It was all believable.
It was very believable. Almost too believable in some parts.
Those
Yeah,
Foley
it
artists.
It makes you think where they got those it's saying like in a slaughterhouse, just like hitting like dead like
Probably.
animal
Yeah,
carcasses.
they may have done
gosh.
that.
maybe that's the case.
Yeah, it could be the case.
And if so, props, kudos.
yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
Kudos.
That was great.
I've seen Deadliest Warrior, so it's probably a pig carcass.
Maybe.
I agree. I've
There
seen
you
that
go.
show as well. It's a pretty good show.
But back to the music, I was really, really happy with it. There was only like one track of all of it that kind of struck me as strange, but like that's forgivable. It didn't ruin the game. It was like synthy and made me think I was playing faster than light. I don't know, but
I dug it.
Did you? You know what I'm talking
I know
about?
which one you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I was blown away by the audio stuff. Like the music, when it came on, it was always like spot on, and it added to the atmosphere, like the piano or during like chases and stuff, or
Chase scenes for sure.
the multiplayer. When it gets down to
man.
crunch time, because like you're trying to destroy nests and the zombies are trying to.
Yeah.
You only have so many lives. Like when you start getting close to the end of the game, it just goes into like this overdrive. Like the music and the drums are just going, and like it's
really
game
intense.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we explain how the multiplayer works really quick, or is that
we'll
multiplayer?
get there.
We'll
Okay.
get there, I
All
think,
right.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, just what Whitehair says. All of the soundtracks I think are fantastic. There, if this game doesn't win soundtrack of the year, I'll be really disappointed.
Yeah.
Or excited to see what did.
Yeah, there you go.
But I
We'll
think,
play that game.
I honestly think this is a really strong contender. And again, some of the stuff that's more subtle, like occasionally you'll hear a wrench hitting the ground.
Yeah.
Or trash being knocked over.
Right.
How about that radio that you stopped and had me listen to? We were in we were in a safe house, and Nick's like, hey, dude, come here, listen to the radio. So we're both just crouched down by the table with our ears pressed to this radio, and there were like transmissions coming through of like people asking for help and stuff like that, and saying like, hey, we're here, we're trapped, like please send help if you get this, and like stuff like that. And it was like, wow. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually think that, do you remember when you go to the top of the roof and kind of find that colony? I think that's the first introduction to that quest. Like, you don't initially pick up the quest, but you hear this transmission where these people are asking for help from anyone.
Wow.
And then you get there, and it's... Is it...
I feel like we can probably spoil
Yeah,
this one.
it's
It was
too late. You don't get there in time.
Wow.
So you just find...
You find a building that's like the only way to get up is to scale this scaffolding, and it's all electrified. It's been rigged up. So you turn that off and you climb to the top, and you find all these bodies of people, but there's no wounds, and they're not zombies. They're all just dead on the roof. And so you start poking around and you find a voice recorder, you find notes, and I guess like this was their own little colony, and they had broken off, and only one guy, their like the leader, had a key to the building so that you could go through the building to get out instead of climbing the scaffolding, and they would electrify the sides to keep themselves safe. And so one day he was doing some work and he fell and died while the sides were electrified, and nobody could get in the building to get down, and nobody could get down because the sides, so they starved to death up
Wow.
there.
Yeah.
And
So instead of resorting to cannibalism, which they equated to being no better than the biters
zombies,
downstairs,
yeah. Right.
they took the little bit of cyanide they had and killed each other. And it's really touching because
Wow.
some of the bodies are like holding hands.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, their hands
Yep.
are intertwined, like, facing each other. It's like
I'm telling you, man, you gotta give this guy time.
It's-
Yeah, it seems like I missed a lot of it.
and
for
I
not
think
playing
that
it all.
that goes back to the kind of untold stories that happens in the
Those
game.
set pieces.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that ties right into the overall feeling of this game. I mean, I think the audio and the visual put together put you in this world.
Oh yeah.
And they give you that sense of, I'm this awesome parkour, like, crazy GRE guy, and I'm gonna save everybody, and then you realize really quick that that's not gonna happen. Like, you're just not gonna save everybody. And I think that the game does a very good job of, incorporating that, but also giving you that hope.
Right.
It's like, hey, you can still do something, And so I think that's a really important aspect of the environment, the atmosphere that you're set in.
Right.
You think?
I don't, for the sake of not being redundant, but I want to echo that Nick's and Alex's opinion about the soundtrack, it being very, very good. Even the intro music kind of put me in the right mood emotionally, sort of, about this game. Was like it is a very dark game, don't get me wrong, but it is also a very hopeful game. Like, there are lots of characters that are doing just fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird how well some of these people have adapted. And the children act very optimistic. Like the children act in a way that you would kind of expect these children to be acting. Like, there's one just playing like what looks to be like a PSP, like on a bed in the tower. Like, he's just hanging out. Like, it's not. He's just gotten used to it. They've all just gotten used to it to a
they're
degree.
playing hopscotch on the floor.
Yeah, every
reading
once in a
books.
while you'll encounter one character that like is about to break, and like they'll regain their composure, or they'll break, and then that's a quest for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But like the psychology of the people that are in the game, and then I'm supposed to be talking about music, but like
No, you can talk about overall feeling too.
Yeah, the character, the immersion. Going back to the immersion, the characters, not just the zombies, not just what you're doing, but the people around you, the NPCs, the people that you encounter with. Mm-hmm. While I have a little bit of heartburn with the emotional connection you have with certain story characters,
Which we will get to.
the people in the side quests and the people that you're around all the time who have really great dialogue. All of them have really, really super great dialogue.
I think one of the
They grabbed me.
best pieces of dialogue is when you come across these two guys who are just hanging out, and one says, "Hey, what do you get from a zombie in winter?" And he's like, the other guy's like, "I don't know. What?" He's like, "Come on, guess." It's like, I don't know, a winter disease? No, frostbite. Like, they're telling jokes.
Yeah, they're telling jokes.
Trying to lighten the
zombies.
mood.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of which, we didn't even talk about the voiceover. This whole game is voiceovered, isn't it?
Oh
Yes,
yeah, all of it.
Pretty
is.
much all of
And
the
it's-
characters.
It's
I don't think
really, it's really well done.
I don't think I ever
It
read
is.
text. I don't think I needed to. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty great.
Yeah, the guy who voices Crane, Kyle, who you play, very good.
Very
Yeah.
good. Mm-hmm.
I'd say all the principal characters actually were very solid.
I think my favorite is probably Rise.
Rise was my least favorite.
Wow.
Voice actor.
acting though.
Voice
least
actor.
favorite.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Brecken was my favorite.
Okay.
Brecken was very good,
Brecken is like the main leader of the tower. You meet him right away. No
and he's
spoilers.
Australian, right?
And Rise is we're talking about. That's the villain.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Rise is, yeah.
Slagan.
Suleiman.
Suleiman.
There it is. Suleiman. Yeah.
Suleiman. Yep.
I forgot his name again. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much the environment. I mean, we pretty much beat that one to death.
Yeah.
That's needs to be emphasized. Though,
That's
because
90% of this game. To be completely honest, yeah, it is.
And the fact that you sweat when you're playing this game, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, I had multiple heart palpitations. And stuff. But it wasn't scary enough that like I lost sleep after playing it. I was fine.
Right,
I didn't like have haunting images of like the zombies and stuff like that because, again, while this is a dark game, very hopeful, very empowering. You feel hopeless at the right times, but you still feel like you're making a difference and an impact, especially in the lives of the NPCs around you and stuff like that. It's great.
Definitely. All right, well, now we're going to move on to our second big topic, which is gameplay. This has to do with the controls of the game, the actual movement, and then the fluidity of play as well as the learning curve of the game.
Ooh. Well, we should talk about the learning curve.
Go ahead.
I think that's probably the best thing to start with.
I'm just talking. You and I have the same opinion about this.
Okay. Well, I thought especially the climbing.
Yeah, the parkour aspect.
Yeah, so I thought that was really... the tutorial was a little bit slow, but just kind of as the game progressed, you found yourself just getting naturally better at it.
Oh, really? Really
and like that, and then the combat was a really big part of it. As you start the game, we mentioned that, you're literally picking like boards off the floor and pipes up and stuff. Like, you feel so powerless. And, one of the first things, like, you're doing is you have to get these objectives, like, maybe flip a switch or something that's in the middle of a crowd of these zombies. And you look at that and go, like, what do I do? Like, I can't go in there.
Yeah,
and
that actually happened to me. There's one part where you're supposed to turn on all these traps, and one of them, actually, there's two of them, on a street, and they're car bombs or traps or whatever.
They're surrounded.
And they're just surrounded by zombies. And I'm on the top of a roof, and I'm looking down, and I'm like, I'm not going down there.
This is not
I cannot do that. There's no way. And it's that part that I was like, come on. Go on.
So, you're looking at all that, and you're like, what do I do? And, eventually, like, you throw firecrackers, because they're attracted to noise, and lure them away, and you, like, do it. But, as the game progresses, situations like that become a lot less, like...
They're more manageable and they're less intimidating.
Yeah, and, like, the whole game kind of pans out like that towards, like, by the time you get to the end, you really are just, like, so accustomed to this place. Like, your character and you as the player, like, you know the ins and outs of how to, if you're getting chased, you know how to shake somebody. If you have to really turn and fight, you know what to do and you're not so, like, afraid. And I think the game, as you progress, it kind of steps you through that and, like, builds your character towards that, like, end game thing.
What I had mentioned earlier about the entire game sort of being like a tutorial, this is what I was talking about.
Yeah, and so it's just really fluid. It goes along. Granted, I took some breaks from the main quest to do story stuff, but I felt like that the pace that I grew in strength was about right for the difficulty of the game. And, I thought it was just probably one of the most well-done, fluid experiences I've ever had in, like, power growth and game difficulty, like, increasing and...
Right.
Yeah.
The cool thing was about this, I echo everything you said, exactly, because we've talked about this before, but the attitude of your character and what he thinks he can and cannot do and his willingness to do so kind of also echoes this. He's always a brave character in that he's like, I guess I'll do it if nobody wants to do it. But he gets, like, an attitude. He gets, like, confidence later on in the game. And you're like, yeah, no, we can do that. Like, that's not a problem. I'll go in the sewers again. I've been there, like, 15 times. I have swam a mile underwater. I will do it again because now I have guns.
Because now I have guns. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important point because in the beginning of the game, when my character is volunteering for all these things, I'm like, no! Save yourself! Right. Stop saying you're going to go out at night and you're going to get the airdrop. I don't want to do that.
Right.
And then as the game goes on, you're like, no, I got this. I'm sitting with my semi-automatic rifle. We'll just fuck these guys up. It's cool.
Not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
Right. But even like that and the combat and managing the situations, but it would be a bad idea for us to not mention the way that they did the skill trees in a way that you get. The agility one is based around, like, running, having better free running skills. But doesn't overhaul anything except for one point where you get something called the grappling hook.
Right.
You want to talk about it? Go ahead.
The game definitely changes as soon as you get the grappling hook. It's
but it's
a
at
lot.
The right time.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot more fluid, I think. The game kind of just works better when, oh, I can't make this jump. Grappling hook.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a huge pet peeve with a grappling hook. Occasionally, you would try to grapple to something and then climb up a roof. Like, you would grapple to the side of a building and then try to climb on top of the roof. Like you could if you were free running.
Right.
But you would just hit the side of the building and then slide down.
Yeah.
And fall.
It just... I
Into
don't...
a group of biters.
Exactly. Or
just,
dying...
of
to
course,
fall
Rough
damage.
fight.
Fall damage, yeah, right?
I don't know
That's a real
what
thing.
caused it, but eventually I was just holding down, the
Right
the
bumper.
climb button.
Yeah.
It was space for
Oh.
keyboard. And,
Yeah.
Brilliant
mouse.
for you
But-
casuals on the keyboard.
Yeah.
I was playing on keyboard, hey.
Casual.
But,
I said casuals, didn't I?
Oh, yeah, okay.
But just holding that button down almost the entire time,
Right.
while I was using the grappling hook, just in case,
Yeah.
But I want to kind of touch on something, the situation management you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I think one of the most helpful things this game did was you have, almost in every situation, you have a chance to observe your surroundings.
Yep.
It's like you climb a roof, look at these cars, you're like, what am I going to do?
Right.
Well, I see an explosive barrel over there. I can, try to shoot the barrel to make it explode.
Mhm.
Maybe it'll track the noise, make those zombies go over here. Maybe it'll kill, enough for me to go down. It's just, the situation is, you can observe it, how to react, how to, plan things out ahead of time,
Right.
almost throughout the entire game. There are a couple instances where it's like, whoa, this is an element that I was not prepared for. What am I going to do? And you have to think about it pretty quickly.
Well,
Yeah.
I think though the one other notable exception to that is nighttime. Like normally when you're sneaking, you're taking it slow, you're playing it safe, you're like weaving in between patrolling guys. But when you get spotted, like that's when this whole game you've kind of been analyzing and stuff, and they take that away from you because if you stop to analyze, you're dead. Like you just have to
that's-
move and you can't
just
stop
run.
to think.
You just run, and then you realize how good you are and how much you picked up at this game.
Yeah.
Like, I learned probably more running for my life at night than I did during the day. And
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
It
probably...
feels like almost two different types of horror games.
Yeah, that's just one of the things I was going to say about, especially about, and I mean, we already touched on it, but the environment is so much different from the nighttime to the day.
But it's literally the same thing.
But like the free running though, and I think I mentioned this to Nick when we were playing, like when we're playing at night, like you have your flashlight on and stuff, but like you can't see in front of you, even with that on, like, because when
Right.
it's during the day, you can look ahead, you can plan routes, you can be like, all right, once I jump to this building, I know where I'm going to go from there. At night, you're like running from somebody, you get to a building and it could be a dead end, and you're like, well, shit, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And that's what I found really made the nighttime, like, really just terrifying, that experience.
Yeah, it's a really cool contrast between the slow kind of planned daytime to the what the fuck is happening fast nighttime. It's just it's almost like two different games.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Let's talk a little bit about the actual controls of the game, because I know I played on keyboard and mouse. Nick, you played keyboard and
Keyboard
mouse?
and mouse.
Keyboard and mouse? Whiter?
Controller.
Controller?
Controller.
Okay.
I play first-person shooters controller. I have to for some reason.
Okay, so how intuitive was that? Because I feel like for me it was pretty intuitive. It's WASD to move around, and spacebar was pretty much your parkour button.
Your jump, your parkour, your climb.
Yeah, basically. And so I feel like that was really intuitive. Use the mouse to look around. Typical left click to attack or whatever.
F to interact, E to kick.
F to interact and E to kick. Yeah, I thought that was a little strange at first because I don't know why, but I'm used to E being interact.
But I think it worked.
It worked
just
out.
fine.
Yeah, it worked out just fine.
I think if I had a complaint about the keyboard and mouse, it was that you used the F6 and F7 keys to upgrade and craft.
Navigating
menus.
the menu wasn't as intuitive as I would have hoped.
Yeah.
But that could be because we were on keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
How was it with the controller?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
Everything was pretty much where you wanted it to be.
Okay.
Right bumper was our parkour button. It was our jump and do all that sort of stuff, which is bumper jumper for Halo.
Yeah.
Left bumper was like melee. All of your melee stuff. Right was use your weapon, and left was use special stuff, and the rest of it was pretty intuitive. You use X to like interact with things and stuff like that. My only heartburn was when I had a gun and I was trying to aim on the sights. I kept throwing grenades into by accident because I kept trying to hold left trigger to aim on the sights. Yeah. You actually click on the right stick to do it.
Oh, come on.
It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, but I'm so used to like Call of Duty style now because that seems to be the worldwide sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or the universal thing. It's But other than that, it was pret'd good. Whitehair, how'd you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned bumper jumper, and I do just really quickly want to explain what makes that so good. Because I think that was probably what made using the controller seamless. And I normally play with my keyboard. There's only a few games I use the controller for. And when you're jumping using a shoulder button or a bumper, you don't have to take your thumbs off the stick like you would at press A in certain games. So what that means is you can jump and you still have all of the like ability to move your character in the camera while in the air. And that really added a lot and made the game, like the whole thing, just better and a really good experience. I thought some of the like things, like as you started getting further into the tech trees and unlocking different moves, there were some weird button combinations that I wasn't really fond of.
And the sliding kick and stuff.
Yeah, like the slide kick felt a little awkward. That to throw my weapon, I had to double click while holding a melee weapon, I had to double click the right thumbstick to like pull my weapon back like in my hand, and then I'd press like the throw button to throw. Like stuff like that was a little strange.
Yeah.
But it wasn't too bad to get used to, I guess. It was just this is probably me just complaining about it doing things I haven't experienced before, but it was. All in all, they worked, and it was a solid experience after some getting used to.
Yeah,
I agree, and I already touched on a little bit about the combat, but overall, what was your feeling about the combat? I mean, I wouldn't say that it's a huge part of this game, because a lot of the game is trying to avoid combat.
Yeah.
But when you are in that situation, how'd you feel? I mean, to me, it was pretty intuitive. Again, I didn't really like the hand-to-hand with humans.
I think that was probably the worst part of the game.
Yeah.
Early hand-to-hand with humans is just bad.
It was bad.
I didn't have a problem with it. I wanted them to be more difficult because I thought they would be more intelligent. They had better weapons, things like that.
It just seemed like they dodged or blocked everything.
Yeah.
And there was like no way for me to do anything.
I mean, they're just like you. Think about how agile you were and how much power you had, and you're slashing through zombies. They're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, to me, it was more believable.
My problem with it was I felt like I was playing Oblivion again, where like these guys, especially like that first mission where you're at the drugstore, because that was my first encounter with fighting players. It was a terrible experience for me because all of a sudden, first of all, like my character, I thought we were just going to talk to these guys, and he was like, "I'm shutting you down." They're like, "Oh, you think so?" And I'm like, "No, dude, chill. Like, there's 5 of them. They have a pipe. They have like bats and like throwing knives. Like, why are you picking a fight with 5 people?"
Yeah.
Like, but so like that happened, and then I think Nick said he did the same thing. They wouldn't use the stairs.
There are stairs on the outside of the building that they're in that you can climb to kind of like regroup and heal up and
and they just all stood there and just like looked at you and would occasionally toss a knife, which you could just dodge.
Mm-hmm.
But like it didn't feel like a good experience when I beat them. Yeah. I just felt like I was exploiting the AI, and that's kind of what I felt like when fighting them and they were just constantly block and parry. It felt like they were just getting like all these free defensive stats like that they can just block, parry, or dodge like every attack because the AI is not smart enough to actually fight well. Because that was like their combat pattern was just block everything you throw at them and then like hit you every 5 seconds. Block, 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 hit you, block, and like that's what every fight was with humans with melee weapons. And it just it got old for me really fast. Like to the point where when we would have to fight them for airdrops and stuff, like I would make it my strategy to just get in there with the grappling hook as fast as possible to kill them while they're still like crouched down and talking, because that way they don't block for like 5 seconds that there's no counter to. Like, it was just, it was obnoxious and it was painful to fight humans.
I would try to like bring zombies into the situation so they would be distracted by them and I could attack them really easily.
But like their AI even, like in that drugstore mission, I just picked a fight with these guys. They're surrounded by like a 10-foot chain link fence. Mm-hmm. They're safe. And I pick a fight with these guys and we're fighting, and halfway through one of them just turns and he starts ignoring me and starts throwing knives to the fence at the zombie. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, you realize I'm coming after you with a pipe and you just turn your back on me to go throw some throwing knives at a zombie. Like, they didn't differentiate like threat levels between the player and zombies, so you could be fighting like guys and they'll just start ignoring you and fighting like common biters.
Right.
It was a little weird in that regard. I think Yeah, just the AI for humans and combat with them was a really weak point in the game.
With the zombies.
Yeah,
With
but
the
what
zombies.
about the zombies? I
A
mean,
plus.
there are a lot of different zombie types. We've talked about that, and there are different strategies for fighting all of them. But without spoiling too much, what do you think about the zombie combat?
Really good.
Yeah?
A few pathing issues.
Yes.
That does happen.
A couple of them fall off some of the buildings from time to
Or
time.
through the floor.
Which
you
is
know.
Which
but-
actually-
but those are bugs. Those are bugs.
Yeah.
I'm willing to make those outliers
Okay,
in the conversation we're talking about that, but because it wasn't overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we're not talking like an Assassin's Creed sort of situation. But the pathing issues were I understood what was happening. I get it. I saw it. Like, two of them would, like, go into an area and they take up a lot of space because they're like, "Rrrr," and, like, moving their arms all around and flailing even if they don't have any arms. And, like, they're just, like, some of them are crawling. Other ones are trying to climb over, you know, knee-high fences and they're having a hard time doing it. But, like, that makes sense for a dumb, shambling zombie.
Right.
And some of the runners made some incredible parkour moves.
Yeah.
They were leaping from buildings to building like
I can't
huge
do that.
ones. I'm like, I can't climb that fast. Holy crap!
Yeah, right.
And they're screaming while they're doing it. Why don't they have to stop to catch the breath? Like, holy cow! But I mean, again, other than a little bit of pathing, I thought it was pretty exceptional.
Yeah.
Some of the bigger ones, a little dumb, but that's what you expect.
Yeah, I think really early it's hard, and that's what it should be. You know, at the beginning of the game, you kind of feel helpless, but that's the point of the game. You know, you're just thrown into here with clothes on your back. That's
Right.
it. You're
Yeah.
not given anything else. So when you start out, you know, you're picking up the floor planks and you're trying to kill these zombies, and they take 100 hits to kill.
Right.
Not 100, but a
lot.
lot of hits to kill. So, and there's that kind of, I gotta save my weapon. So you start kicking them, and that, you know, that just takes forever.
That
'Cause your
just
kicks
takes
don't
even
do
longer.
any damage,
Right.
Exactly.
but they don't take any durability.
Well, until
so
you get the drop kick, and then it's a whole new game. You know?
Okay, Chris likes the drop kick. We
Love
get
it, because you can drop kick people over fences, off of
Off of buildings, right?
into spikes that are on the wall.
It's a little scary to try to drop kick a zombie off a building, though, because if you miss,
Yeah.
you're going right off the building.
My first experience, I tried to jump off of the building to drop kick one that was on the floor beneath me.
I watched
and
this.
I went, what? And then it just landed like on my butt. Took a little bit of falling damage, like right in front of me. It was like,
Yeah.
bending forward, like no, and just like yelling and swearing on stream, and like Whiter's laughing.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so the last part of gameplay would be any bugs that we noticed at all throughout the entire thing, even small ones or any ones that you've heard of. Anything? Overall, the coding in this game I thought was pretty good.
It's pretty tight for an open world game.
For an open world
oh
game,
my
I know.
god!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
There
Yeah.
weren't a lot of clipping issues I didn't see.
No.
No game breaking bugs for sure. I didn't see anything
I
like
have
that.
heard a couple of game breaking bugs
Okay.
on the Dying Light subreddit, which you should go check out. It's
Okay.
really
Filled
good.
with hilarious
It's
stuff.
really good. It's just r/Dying Light.
Okay.
But there's a couple. I think the biggest game breaking one isn't unplayable. It's that sometimes you get stuck at a certain survival level and you stop accumulating experience. So you'll be at survival level 24. The max is 25, and there's a pretty big power spike as soon as you hit 25.
Yeah.
That's when you become basically unkillable. I
Yeah.
would say.
Okay.
Right, but you've earned it at that point in time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
you've earned
You've
it.
already
To
beaten the
get to
game,
that point,
that's
you
all.
have to pretty much do everything in the game.
And even then, you have to go above and beyond. I think Whitehair and I were farming some enemies for 45 minutes, probably.
Yeah, to finally hit the level cap, yeah.
But you get stuck at this level, and you don't get any more experience. It's like the game thinks you've leveled up, but you haven't.
Okay.
So you're stuck there for the entire game.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I mean, I haven't heard of anything, but that does sound
But
like
I mean,
a
aside,
pretty rare case.
yeah, it was pretty weird.
Right.
Nothing happened to me. I don't think that was game breaking.
No, there were a couple of funny things. Again, zombies doing weird shit.
Yeah.
I think Alex.
Some of the AI maybe has a little bit of.
Alex
bug
had a
issues,
couple
but
of
not a lot.
clipping issues that were pretty funny.
Yeah, I had a guy get sucked into a car, like the hood of a car, and just like then die, and then his hand was like sticking out from under it. It was
Yeah.
at the time hilarious. I
really
was
funny.
just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
whoa, wait, what did I just watch happen? Like, what? Like, I didn't know if that was a thing. Like, so my first thought was like, maybe this zombie like bumped into the car too fast, and like it thought he died from the impact. But then why did his body get sucked into the like? Just what?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It didn't make a lot of sense, but it was funny to watch. It was
Yeah.
funny to watch. Okay, cool. So that's mostly gameplay. We get into the fun aspects. Anything else with gameplay?
I wanted to say one thing.
Okay.
If you're still not sure what sort of game we're trying to describe is, or what kind of game we're trying to describe in general, a game to look to if you've played it are the Far Cry games, 3 and 4 in particular. Even some of the storytelling elements in this game. By the way, this game is made by Techland, which is a Polish developer, and published by Warner Brothers. So it's not the same. It's not Ubisoft.
Right.
Or BioWare.
I don't remember who made it.
Ubisoft,
yeah.
I believe. In that the open world stuff, and then some of the storytelling elements being first person and things like that. There was a lot of like trippy, like spiritual, like emotional journey things happened in this game too. And being a big fan of Far Cry 3 and 4, 3 more. Let's just be honest. It was great. So if anything, if you like those games, you're still not sure about this game, then you like them. If you like those games, play this game. This game's great.
Before we move on, can we talk about a few of the Easter eggs?
Yeah, I think that kind of falls under this category.
Go for it.
So let's pick a favorite out of the ones we did.
Don't spoil too much. I'm like one each.
Okay. I think my favorite Easter egg was probably the Plants vs. Zombie.
Like mini game.
Yeah, the mini game.
Okay.
It's basically one Plants vs. Zombie level that you do.
That's
and
cool.
It's really good.
They showed me the video. It's like a working version of Plants vs. Zombies in the context of the game.
That's
Yeah.
so awesome.
It was
Yeah.
incredible to see. I'm like, wow.
And
That's
like
pretty
complete with the zombies like after the first wave coming out now with buckets on their heads and being like the tankier versions that take more hits and yeah. It was
you even
pretty
have some watermelons that throw freezing little bombs
No way.
that'll freeze the zombies if they hit.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a confession to make. I beat all of Plants vs. Zombies, the entire game.
yeah.
Wow.
It's a
I
really
know.
good game.
It was a really good game. I liked
Yeah.
it. I did buy Plants vs. Zombies 2 as well, but I didn't
sorry.
beat that one. Yeah,
Okay.
it was not as good. But anyway, your Easter egg?
There was a Mario Easter egg where you slide down a chimney and you find yourself now in this like enclosed room and like the walls are painted blue, so it's like a skybox, and this like platform that you're walking on is super narrow, and it's like you're in a 2D world, right? Like you're in as 2D of a world as you can. There's no room left or right to go. You can only go forward, and there's boxes in front of you that when you jump and hit your head on them, like snacks come out and stuff. And there's like hidden blocks where you like jump and you hit your head on something, and then like a block materializes above your head, like just like you're playing Mario.
Wow.
And the zombies are in like these suits that make them like the Goombas.
Yeah.
And like so it's like the little zombie head poking out, and then from their shoulders down it's like this big like rounded shape like a Goomba.
Yeah.
And they're like
This game is not without humor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely.
Is pretty much what
I mean this was definitely like immersion breaking, but like it was a little tiny
you
pipe.
had to go out of your
You
way.
had to
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So now into another great portion of this show. Let's talk about the story of this game. How impressed are we with the story? What about the length of the game? And then, are there any story discontinuities, errors, or is there any part of the story that we just thought was lacking?
This is going to be finally probably an area of the game where we actually disagree.
Yeah.
I can agree with that, yes.
Oh, well, never mind. Well, never mind.
I can
Thanks
agree
for
that
throwing
we're
that
going to
out the
disagree.
door.
All right, here we go. But yeah, I don't know. For me, first off, the initial impression that you get from this story is that you're in this world and your character, this Kyle Crane person, is not from this world. And that's kind of part that I enjoyed with the story. But then every time I had a story like aspect that I was interacting with somebody, and then I had to make a call to GRE, I felt like, okay, I'm a douchebag, and I didn't like that part of the story. If that makes any sense.
No, that does.
yes.
Because I definitely felt disconnected from the people around me. Because it's like they've been living here and doing this, and now coming in and screwing it up or something.
But I feel like they're supposed to make you.
Yeah,
that
that's
way.
an intentional.
Right. Yeah, I know, and that manifests itself as the game goes on for sure.
Right.
But I don't know. I liked all the characters for sure. They definitely gave them pretty good personalities. You know, you felt bad when bad things happened. You felt good when good things happened. That one time.
Yeah, no, really.
But really.
It does seem like just a string of really bad events.
Really bad events,
again.
right?
Yeah.
It was pretty hopeless for a long time there. But, yeah, what do you guys think?
Well, I think I will be one of the few that actually enjoyed the story. I thought it was pretty good. I think that there are some parts of the story that aren't as good as others.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the characters kind of carry the story easily. I think the main, your character kind of fits the super brave, protective asshole at first that kind of, turns into this, these are my people. I'm one of these guys. I think Rise is a fantastic character who's this maniac, an absolute unpredictable monster, and I think parts of the story just showcase that super well.
Okay.
I thought it was really good. There are a lot of parts, not a lot, but there are a few pretty big parts of the story which aren't very good.
Mm-hmm.
But
I can agree with that.
Overall, I think it's pretty good overall.
All right. What about you, Chris?
I just think that your character is put into a lot of very shitty situations.
That you have no choice but
like
to do.
You went in with certain pretenses and good intentions, and then you get put there, and you are forced into a position that does not uphold your personal character's point of view and morals that you also, as a player, probably feel. So you get to do a couple of pretty shitty things.
But
what?
Your character doesn't really have a choice.
Right, so here you're right, and I feel like those elements are really, really well done. Really well written. On the other hand, some things that weren't well written and well done, I had to disagree with you about the villain Rice. He was good halfway through the game. The second half of that game, I felt like they were really reaching. And it's probably because I didn't feel so connected to very many of the main story characters. I didn't feel particularly upset when certain bad things would happen to certain people. I didn't feel as connected to certain characters as my main character was vocalizing he was attached to them to.
Yeah.
There's some experiences towards the end of the game that the character really mess with the character, and it's expressed via gameplay, visual, everything. And I started to feel a little bit about it, but generally I'm pretty easy on immersing myself emotionally in a game and really getting into it. And I felt like the beginning game was rushed, story-wise at least. A little too shallow for me. It was still good. I see what they were doing. As far as game stories go, or stories in general, a great overall story was told.
Great. Mm-hmm.
But for me, looking for a very emotional sort of adventure or experience, it's a teensy bit too shallow for me.
Yeah, I think one of the greater aspects of the game is the kind of the dual storyline that goes on. You have the outside world, and then you have this quarantine zone. And I think that that's a really good aspect of the game because you do feel like your character's being pulled in two directions, and you're not really given that choice, but you feel like your character should be given that choice,
Right.
And that's kind of, I agree with you that, you're being given these instructions from two different places, and sometimes they contradict, and you just you're forced to do one thing, even if you don't agree with that thing. So yeah, I can see that. What do you think, Winter?
I agree with a lot of what Chris said. Particularly the villain Rise. I'm going to disagree with Nick as well. I think that he was just and maybe he's, as Nick said, this ruthless, this maniac, but maybe I'm trying to look for reason in an obviously insane character. But just the way that this guy acts and conducts himself, I didn't believe it at all. Normally, even with villains that are, a little bit off the deep end, you can kind of at least hate them, but the whole time just everything he did I found myself saying, why? What? Just stop. What are you doing? This game it would just felt stupid to me.
Well, I think, trying not to spoil anything, I think he wants what everyone else wants. He just wants to get out. So I think doing all these super crazy, harmful things to the people in the quarantine zone are for his own personal.
Right, and I understood that. And then he kind of explained a broken philosophy about what a man really is, and like making choices. But like that sort of philosophy fits a man with that sort of frame of mind. That part I really liked. I dug into that. It was beaten to death by the end of the game, but it even still he just wasn't charismatic enough for me, I suppose, is the thing.
Okay, yeah.
Normally, I like to like my villains. You know, I'm like, yeah, I can get into that a little bit. Not enough for me to be like, I'm going to be a villain, but enough for me to be like, I understand where you're coming from your perspective. I don't agree with you, but you go, girl, you do your thing, you know? Like, you cut off that guy's hand.
Yeah.
That part was awesome.
But that just wasn't there with Rise, though. Like,
he felt a little, like, again, a little too shallow.
As far as the other things, like...
I love that he was Russian, though. That was great.
I felt like
that was important,
the story, because it kind of has two phases. You start out like in the slums, and you eventually move to a different part of the city of Haran. And you know, when you're in the slums, you meet like a lot of these characters, and the two that I ended up feeling most attached to were characters that just didn't play a role in the story in like the second part.
Disregarded.
Like I really liked Raheem. He was, you know, like your first friend. He's the tutorial guy. Like you're hanging out with him, and like he wasn't in the second half of the story at all. And then there was Brecken, the leader of the tower. He's this like, you know, there was so much emotion with that guy.
Yeah.
And like
they spent so much time building his character.
Yeah,
you interact with them so much.
Brecken is probably the most well-developed character.
Yeah, totally.
Arguably, yeah.
Maybe
Jade.
No.
There is so much side story around Jade. If you listen to like NPC told stories, you hear nothing about Brecken. You hear all about Jade.
I mean that's true, but I still felt like the game was just trying to, and like you said, your character was vocalizing like lots of stuff, like attachment to this character Jade, and like you're doing all these things like for her and all this stuff, and I'm like, why? Like we've talked to her 3 times.
There was that one. They have mission text and all the loading screens, and they're voiced over in a great way. They're basically like summarizing either like what you're about to do or what you had just done. If it's like a loading screen from loading your game back up, and one of them was Brecken asked me to do this mission with Jade, and like ... Well, like that won't be awkward. And I was watching you stream, and you're like, why? Why is that going to be awkward? I have no emotion or feeling towards this character at all. I just met her.
It's awkward because of what happens at the very beginning of the game.
Okay.
The guy that she has a crush on dies? Like
no, the person she is most attached to in her world dies for you.
Right.
Yeah, for you. Yeah, it saves your life.
No, I get that, but then she pretty quickly is like, I get it. Like, that just happened.
Yeah, she got over that real quick, didn't she?
Well,
I feel like
she's an emotional powerhouse.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
She's a kickboxer, like a world level kickboxer. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that you find.
I think the game kind of explains it pretty well. Why there's a disconnect between the slums and they call it Sector 0, the old town.
Yeah. We call it
O-Town?
Affectionately.
Henceforth known as O-Town.
It's Sector 0. This was where the outbreak occurred.
Right.
So this is the part of the city that's kind of the hardest to get into. There's only a few people who have even access to this part of the city,
or are still stuck there.
So it's kind of, it's not like they don't play a role. They can't get to this part of the city.
Right. But then others, like the crazy guy at the wharf, Tobias, he's some old guy who makes a crazy flaming machete. I get to O-Town, he's like, hey, I'm here in O-Town now, I got a new machete, you want to try it out? And it's like, Tobias made it, where's Brecken?
Right, yeah.
The badass parkour instructor.
But he has to take care of the tower.
No, I get that, but like, I just was so disappointed that they built up this character and spent so much time, and like, like Nick said, the best developed character in the first half of the game vanished and didn't even, like, when you go back to the slums, like, for the later part of the game, he wasn't even, like, a part there. Like, it was just nothing. It was disappointing.
I was really hoping he was going to come back.
Yeah, I felt like after everything, like, at least if we're in his neck of the woods, like, we should see him
Like,
just
hey, man,
once
what's going
before
on?
before the end of the game, even. But, like, you don't even, like, stop in to say hi.
Yeah.
Like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is what I've been up to for the last week. Like, did you notice all this shit happening? That was me.
By the way, notice how we all haven't all died yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, just nothing. It was like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's very disappointing. I think it's explained okay. There is an explanation. I don't know if it's the best.
Yeah, it's not like there is a hole in the story.
Yeah.
It's complete.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
We just don't like
but it is very disappointing that
Okay.
it has a huge change in feel
Yeah.
after that midway point.
Gotcha.
One thing I do want to say, though, because I did just pretty much spend all of that saying how I didn't like the story. I mean, this game, I put 40 hours into it, and it was the kind of game where, you know, I was at work, like, man, I just want to get off work, and I want to go home and just keep playing this game. Obviously, I enjoyed it, and just because I didn't particularly enjoy the main story...
Or certain beats in the story.
Or, yeah, there was still just so much in this game, and, like, particularly in the form of side quests, when you weren't doing just, like, fetch quests, like, hey, bring me 10 coffee, when you got into the ones where there was story, and there were all these characters that you're meeting, and all these, like, you know, just, like, this intricate world, that, like, in these, just, yeah, I don't know, I thought it was amazing, and those were things that kept me coming back to the game and kept me playing.
You're right.
Cool. Let's talk about the length of the game. Was it a good length? Was it too long? Was it too short?
Well,
What do you think?
It hit the sweet spot for me. I thought it was great.
Yeah? Perfect length, huh?
Yep. I was told it was like a 14 to 16 hour campaign, and I did some side questing and I got it done within 12.
Okay.
But that's me, and I blazed through games pretty quick.
Yeah.
And plus, this was one of my favorite sort of genres of game. Not horror, but parkour, first person sort of stuff. I like Mirror's Edge. I like the game a whole lot.
Yeah.
The length was good. Was good.
I think for me, I feel like this kind of goes back to one of my initial points, which was a lot of these side missions feel a little unnecessary, and if I had just skipped them, I would have probably had more fun. But I didn't beat this game. I put probably 11 hours into it and got about halfway. I thought that was actually a pretty good length. You know, for what it was, I think I learned enough at that point that I would have enjoyed the rest of the game, and probably will. And that it will be a good
you
length.
can go back and play it, man. I have good news.
Yeah,
You can still
it's
play
not
it.
gone. The game isn't over.
Right, it's
I can still play
on
it.
your computer. Right, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like for me, that whole learning curve at the beginning that I just didn't catch on.
Yeah.
I didn't play the game well. I did really poorly in the beginning,
That's
and
a
I
big
think
turn,
that
I
was
think,
that was hard for me to get over that hump. That initial, like, my first night mission, and they force it on you, was terrible. I had to do it probably 8 or 9 times. And when you're literally running like 7 blocks at night and you keep failing, it gets a little discouraging. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that was
true.
That was unfortunate. But once I started doing the actual story and I started like picking up on the mechanics of the game, I felt like it moved pretty nicely.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a good pace.
Yeah, it was a good
Story.
pace for a game, for sure. You guys have anything else on that? On the story at all?
I thought the main story was just about right. I wish there would have been more side missions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've played, what, 40 hours?
Yes, about 40 hours and really close to 100%ing. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a
pretty
few
much so.
challenges.
And not collectibles, obviously. Like
Yeah,
finding the little hidden things.
No, that
but-
I wouldn't count that as part of the...
Yeah.
You're one mission away right now as it stands
Two-
for finishing
two
all side
missions.
quests. Oh, 2 side
42
quests.
out of 44
Yeah.
side missions.
Yeah.
Okay. So you feel like that there should probably be a little bit more.
Yeah.
This kind of ties into replay value of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Would you find yourself starting over? Do you want to play this game again?
Not immediately.
Okay.
I will probably come back to this in the future. I would probably start over immediately if we all started over immediately.
Yeah, definitely.
Multi-
Yeah, if
Multiplayer-
we play multiplayer, it makes it a different game.
Yeah. And we'll get into
Co-op-
that. It's our next section. We're getting there.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I think I would agree with that. I don't think that this is one of those games that you can play all the way through and then start up again. You know, it's not like I don't know. I can't think of an example right now, but, you're not just going to play this game for 150 hours straight because you run out of things to do. And you just don't want to keep playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that being said, there is a New Game Plus.
Okay.
Oh, is there really?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I think I saw a couple posts on the subreddit about like, oh, I'm in New Game Plus and this happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I didn't realize.
There you go.
I might be starting a new game.
There might be more in store for us.
There.
Okay. So yeah, if that's pretty much it for story replay value, we've only got one more, which is multiplayer. Is there multiplayer in this game?
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay, there is multiplayer, and
Boy.
we've streamed a lot of it.
Oh boy, is it fun! It is a good time. There's arguably a couple different forms that multiplayer takes place. First being obviously cooperative.
Yep.
Which I think is a fantastic addition.
Oh, it's great.
The way they handle co-op is great.
Yep. And you can play through the game with up to 4 people, right?
Yeah,
The entire game.
Yep.
Yes, and those people who join your game don't have to go back and finish the game themselves. They get credit for the story missions and the side missions that they do that are in your game, as long as they are at that point to be eligible for the quest.
Yep, and they don't limit your leveling up. You still get to keep your gear, everything.
Right.
Pretty cool. There's another form.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Where you get to, if you have the DLC, by the way. Which all 4 of us have. I'm not sure if you were aware that it was DLC.
All right, so
I didn't even know it was DLC.
I read a bit about this, and
Okay.
I'm not quite sure. The initial, when they announced the DLC, was that you would only get this, at least on the consoles, you would only get this Be the Zombie DLC if you pre-ordered the game. And it was kind of the reward for people who are willing to put down money for a product that hadn't really come out yet and, stood up to all the reviews of, thousands of people playing it. And I personally bought this game for my little brother about a week after it came out on PlayStation 4. And, we didn't pre-order it, and he got the DLC.
So,
and we all did too, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, my initial thought was maybe it just comes with the PC version because...
That's what I thought too, but I asked him about it, and he said not pre-ordering the game. I just went to the store and bought it normally a week after it came out, and he got it too, so...
I don't know, maybe there's something
maybe
maybe
just
there's
changed
something
their
else.
mind.
Yeah.
But I think it might be that the copy was from a copy that was pre-ordered, or it was a copy that was in the first shipment, and it wasn't picked up. So there's no way for them to really tell that you pre-ordered it.
Well, what they normally do at GameStop is if you pre-order it, your receipt will print with a specific code.
Oh,
that you'll
okay,
redeem
okay.
it to,
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what the deal is, but there's it could. I'm not sure if it's DLC or not, but generally we all bought it when not on release. So if you go and buy it not on release, chances are you'll probably also get it. But there's a feature in the main menu called Be the Zombie, and you basically get to be something called a night hunter, which you run really fast, you jump really high. You have claw attacks, you have a grappling hook that's like tendrils and crap. And basically, you can invade people's games at night.
Mm-hmm.
And you hunt them while...
There's a setting you can change it to any time. So it's
even
not
during the
just
day?
at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a menu.
I think it
in
switches.
the online
I think
menu.
it switches to nighttime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, from the human perspective, you can limit that in your game and stuff like that. But you get to invade games as this zombie, as this night hunter, and the generic game is set up as one night hunter versus up to 4 humans. And when this happens, the game kind of changes from whatever you're doing at the time to they have to kill these nests. The humans have to go around and kill these nests. There's groups. There's 5 groups or something like that. And then the night hunter has to kill 10 of these humans. And they can shine UV flashlights at you and stuff. You're trying to sneak up on them and crap. You gain some new abilities over time, like the ability to spit bombs, which explode and mark them for a horde of zombies and stuff like that. It's really, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
For what kind of feels like a tacked on sort of deal, it's pretty polished too.
Yeah. It definitely felt like an afterthought to me.
Mm-hmm.
I only played co-op once, and it was with Nick. And you can go through in the settings. There's an online menu in the main menu, and you can just basically select what you want to do. So I did friends only and no zombie invasions, so that nobody would just jump into my game and start running at me to kill me or whatever. And you can actually change all that stuff to play offline mode too.
Right.
So if you want to just do the single player, that's what I did mostly. you could just play the whole game single player like that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched the stream a couple times while you guys were doing it, and it was fun times to be had.
It's
for
really
sure.
fun.
I think. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it's super intense when you do the online face off against the Night Hunter.
I think the sweet spot for the Night Hunter, the Be the Zombie, is 2 people.
Yeah,
I think any more than that, and it kind of benefits the human too much. And I think any fewer than that, the 1, it's just super unfair for the 1.
Okay.
For the human. I wish they limited what weapons you had.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not very fair to have, the perfect, the ultimate weapon where you're killing everything in one hit. And
like a late game katana or a gun.
Yeah, pretty much. And you can use this in the multiplayer with no repercussion whatsoever.
Yeah, so you just one-shot the other player, and that's pretty much it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That kind of makes it unfun. I can believe that.
Bit.
Yeah.
The other thing that I kind of didn't like was setting up the invasion thing. Like, it kind of puts a halt on the game. Granted, like, you can opt out at any time, but, like, not knowing what it was, I just set, like, thinking that it was going to be maybe, like, Dark Souls or something, where, a player can just come into your game, you'll keep doing your thing, and, like, but all of a sudden, maybe there's one extra hostile thing that's, like, player controlled. I thought that's what I was getting myself into. And then all of a sudden, it's during the day, and it just, like, it suddenly goes dark outside. I'm in the middle of a story mission, like, and it's really intense, and I'm enjoying it. And then it's just like, boom, someone's in your game, go kill some nests. I was like, wait, what? Like, it was really confusing and poorly explained.
It's a little, for lack of a better word, invasive.
Yeah. It was fine once after that game I opted out and I closed and I read what the multiplayer was because I was really confused.
It's basically a mini game.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun, and once I read it and it made sense, that was cool. But like the menus, I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Well, one of the cool thing for me was probably when you two were playing co-op and it was nighttime and I didn't say a damn thing. Mm-hmm. And I just hopped into your game and then I loaded and I was like, oh, Chris is in the game. Where you at, Chris? In the multiplayer? No. I mean, the tutorial? No. I tried to die like 4 times.
and the game we played was very intense.
Oh, it was.
It came down to, I think, 1 life?
1 or 2 lives.
Yeah, 1 or 2 lives? Yeah. Wow. And it was crazy.
There was some fun moments.
Yeah.
Also, because I got to hear their chat, like, "Where's Chris?" And they're like, "Oh, he's up on the overpass." I'm like, "Damn it!"
They're like, "No, I'm not. Shut up.
I gotta stop screaming."
All right, that's pretty cool. All right, so is there anything else we want to talk about before we? Go ahead.
Rules that are not in the game that you should play by.
Okay. Oh yeah. Beginner tips. Let's do that. Let's add that.
This isn't a beginner tip.
Beginner tips. Don't follow this rule.
Yeah.
The game becomes so much more fun if you play at nighttime. If you force yourself to not be able to sleep at night, to skip through the night.
You're talking about multiplayer?
Even
single player.
Oh, God.
The game is so much better if you don't give yourself the option of sleeping through the night.
Right.
Simply because it's easier to go to daytime.
There's also a fast travel feature. Don't ever use that. I never used it.
Really?
I never used it once.
At the end of the game, honestly, there was just, when it came to, running through the sewers to get in between the 2 sections of the city, after I'd done it 3 times, and it takes about 15 minutes.
I had only done it once, that's why.
Yeah, we were going back and forth to get side quests in both sections.
Oh.
I was like, I've done this, it takes 15 minutes, I'm just gonna fast travel. Nothing in there scares me at this point. So I know every enemy and
Yeah, the only thing you can fast travel to and from is the slums to O-Town. You can't travel between the safe houses, which was I thought was a really good feature that was left out.
Yes.
Oh, you think that was left out? You think that should be there?
No. I thought it was a feature that was left out, and it was it was a good feature that was left out.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, and there are quite a lot of those. I mean, the safe houses are not sparse. They seem to be pretty much everywhere. Mm-hmm. So if you want to sleep through the night, it's actually pretty accessible to do that.
Yeah. But I would recommend not sleeping through the night.
You're gonna have to do a little more convincing to let me.
Some of the most fun that Whitehair and I had when we were playing together is what was just running from the pursuers. I think at one point we had challenged each other to a race from one side of the slums to the other at
No
night.
grappling hook?
At night, no
We didn't
grappling
have it
hook.
yet.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't-
Oh,
we didn't have
good.
it yet.
Okay, good.
While being pursued the entire time.
Wow.
It was crazy intense.
I bet.
I fell off a car in the first 30 seconds and was surrounded by 6 volatiles. I somehow managed to stay alive and pull myself to safety, but Nick beat me by a solid minute, I think.
Yeah, I evaded pursuit very quickly.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, all the ones that were on him, they just noticed that I was being chased. They're like,
Whoa, what's
well,
over
we
here?"
lost that one, but hey, there's a guy over there.
He fell off a car.
So yeah, that didn't go well for me, but it was terrifying. I think
Yeah.
they were screaming at me, just oh god, no.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, it's that time in the show. We're going to get to the very end of it. This section is called Vault or Fault. The reason we call it that is because we have personal vaults, and we want to take the good games and put them in our vault. So if we like a game, we vault it. If we don't like the game, it's a fault. So, what do we think?
Before everyone votes, I think there should be a third option: Vault on sale.
Okay. I like that. I do want to talk about price because that's part of what it is all about. I mean, we want to mention what the price is, and we want to say, is it worth that price?
Generally, if we're vaulting a game, we're saying you should go get this, and that
You
includes
should go buy it.
things like price.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think the third option would be great if you want to vault it while on sale.
But it
say
doesn't sound
that
as
too.
catchy as Vault or Fault, so we're just gonna call it.
Yeah, we're just gonna go vault or fault, and then we're gonna leave that third option in for people like me this episode. So
good.
We'll start with Chris.
Should I say what my decision is, and then we can go back and talk about them, or?
No, let's just talk about them as we go. I think that's okay.
I think this game is definitely a vault,
Okay.
and at the sale price of $60, I got a full game experience out of this, and it's not from a what could be regarded as a AAA general sort of developer, Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Not
Techland, a Polish developer. I haven't heard about them before. And this game is A+ material. It's really good for all the little bits and pieces that we kind of picked apart because we got pretty critical.
Yeah.
This game was a very positive experience. I like what I was saying. I wanted to come back home and play it. I played it at night. I played it during the day. I streamed it. Had a great time streaming it. Had a great time talking about it. We had to stop ourselves from talking about this game multiple times. Save it for the show. Save it for the show. Save it for the show. It's fine. Vault for sure. 100% Vault.
Okay.
I completely agree. Vault, full price. I love this game. It was fantastic. I definitely will be playing through it again sometime. Probably not soon, unless we do multiplayer, because that is some of the most fun I've had playing a game ever.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think we should note too, just on with that fun multiplayer, we are compiling a video. So if you're interested in seeing some of those moments, there's a few here and there, maybe of us in single player, but almost all of the best moments of the game, because we recorded, Nick and I, just about every minute we played of it. Yeah. Some of the best moments were us playing together and with Chris and stuff. And,
Dropkick City.
Yeah. So if you're interested, definitely check that out.
Yeah.
But to answer the question, Vault at the full price. It was definitely a wonderful experience. 40 hours out of a $60 game, I think, is, more than enough bang for your buck, and I really enjoyed it.
All right. So we're vaults across the board.
So far.
I think...
Simon Cowell?
I think that...
You're already outvoted. You don't even have to say anything.
Yeah, I'm already outvoted.
Simon likes going to Hollywood.
All right, well, 3 out of 4 ain't bad, right? So anyway, I'm gonna go with Vault on sale. I think I like that option.
All right.
I really did enjoy most of the aspects of this game. Like I said before, I stressed this really hard. I really didn't like a lot of the combat. Once you get a gun, it seems almost too easy, and when you're using a melee weapon, it seems almost too hard. But
just you wait.
Yeah, I know, right? I know.
Yeah, them katanas.
But honestly, I think that it's a great game. It's very well done, super well polished, and I didn't get to play a lot of multiplayer. and I think I'm missing that aspect. I think if
so,
I
too.
played a lot of
Absolutely.
multiplayer,
Absolutely.
I feel like if I played multiplayer, I'd probably just vault it all the way.
Yeah.
But definitely, if this game goes on sale, definitely pick it up because it's definitely worth that. And I would, it might even be worth the $60. You know, it's pretty darn close. So that's it. That's all of our first episode of VaultCast.
Mm-hmm.
There it is, guys.
Good
Wow.
job.
It's pretty good.
We did it.
We did. Wow.
Yeah.
Now we're also gonna tell you about what we're gonna do for the next episode.
Yeah. At the end of every episode, we're actually going to announce what the next game is.
Right. I want to kind of explain a little bit about the format really quick. What we're going to be doing. It's going to be every 2 weeks. We're going to do one of these. So we have 2 weeks of streaming and stuff like that. You can check our website warfinch.com for more information about that. It's kind of smattered around in places that are clearly labeled. But quick summary: it'll be a AAA big game like this for 2 weeks, and then like an indie game or two, or like something smaller or an older game to the 2 weeks. Then back to recent big hit, and then something like back and forth. And then the what would be considered the off AAA week, we'll be sending out voting to members of our website that have like support us on Patreon and stuff like that for their input. We'll give them a list of games they can basically direct what the show is going to be like and what they want to see us do, and that'll change every single month when it's appropriate. But that being said, the next games for the show are going to be
we are looking to do Bastion, which came out I would say a year and a half ago, a little longer than
Longer
that.
than
Well, like
Longer than
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
That was junior year of college for me.
Yeah, as far as I know, we're all going to be playing it on computer again.
Yes.
And then the other game, it slipped my mind.
Transistor.
Transistor.
By the same company.
By the same company
Yes, a
that I
double
have not played before.
A double feature episode.
He likes to say that.
Yes. I
Okay.
thought it was clever. Leave me alone.
It's
Is
clever.
the game by Double Fine now?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't
Oh,
realize that.
Yeah.
that makes it way more clever.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
they're both by Double Fine.
Okay, Double Fine,
Transistor
double
was made by the
feature.
people who made Bastion.
Right,
I didn't realize
yes.
that was Double
Oh,
Fine.
yeah, Double Fine. Yeah.
You got really aggressive
Sorry,
and then really happy.
Yeah.
Come on, man!
Oh,
yeah,
got
that's
it.
what I was saying.
Oh,
Oh, my
man.
God.
Okay. So anyway, in 2 weeks we will be in 2 weeks we will be giving you another episode of VaultCast. We'll be playing Transistor and Bastion on stream. Check out our stream. That is twitch.tv/TheLeagueCastPodcast. We have another stream. We might use both of them at the same time, depending on what happens, which is twitch.tv/LeagueCastPodcast.
What's going to be actually happening is we're going to be moving over to twitch.tv/Warfinch exclusively.
Oh,
Warfinch
that's where we're going.
Warfinch Media. I'm so
Warfinch
sorry.
Media.
I'm still getting
Media.
I'm still getting used to it. So is Matt. He's pulling our old
I know, I'm
stuff.
taking over. Why do you stop me sooner?
I don't know. You seem like you're on a roll.
I was on a roll. You're right.
But if you enjoyed this episode, because this is the free episode on the website, you can gain access to the next episode, which is in 2 weeks, and all the ones in the future. Or if you're seeing this past the launch week of this website,
Right.
you'll get all the past ones too. So you get the one we just discussed, anything that's happened up until the point of you joining. Go take a look at our website, again, warfinch.com, for more information about that.
Right. There we go.
And that's it.
So that is it. That's the first episode of VaultCast.
Awesome.
And we will see you in 2 weeks for Bastion and Transistor.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's get some zombies.
Let's do it.